What's up, everybody? Derek Anderson, the DA. All right, everybody, let's talk a little Warner Brothers right now, and let's just keep it a buck. Warner Brothers has had one hell of a 2025, man. Out of all the studios that's out there, I think Warner Brothers acquitted itself nicely in 2025. You can see the headline on Deadline. Warner Brothers' first studio this year to cross $4 billion at the global box office. That's impressive. Getting there ahead of Disney. Even though Disney has all of these giant IPs, they got Snow White, they dropped, that flopped. You know, you have the 3 Marvel movies, those flopped. All right. You did get Lilo and Stitch, which was a success, but then you follow it up with shit like Tron, you know, and Elio or whatever that shit was from Pixar. You know, they've been flopping left, right, and center. Meanwhile, Warner Brothers, yeah, we did all right. You know, I think Superman did absolutely flop, but you still had Minecraft, you had Sinners, you had Weapons, you had F1, which I think was a partnership with Apple, you know, but you had those movies. You also had The Conjuring, all right? You also had Final Destination. Then Warner Brothers did the job this year, man. They did the job. They cleaned up at the box office, so you got to give them respect for that. And now everybody is looking at them like, yo, we may want to add Warner Brothers to the family. You know, because they making money, they doing things right in the movies. Their movie division is really popping right now, and they have some amazing IP that we might want to gobble up. So Paramount Skydance wants to merge streamers, but keep most of Warner Brothers Discovery intact if an acquisition happens. And this is like almost a foregone conclusion. Everybody's saying that, yeah, Paramount's going to end up with them. You know, everybody's been saying that, shouting it out. Warner Brothers board already has rejected 3 separate bids from the entertainment company, which is Paramount Skydance. Paramount and Skydance just merged, and now they want to merge again. And everybody's like, yeah, just go ahead and give it to them, man. They got the bread. You know, we like the infrastructure over there. Everything's going to work out just fine. You know, they could bring everything over without splitting it up. That's what everybody's looking at. And look, Paramount is out there sweetening the deal. They're saying that, yeah, even the creative teams are safe. You know, your little precious James Gunn. You guys love James Gunn so much. Paramount reportedly wants to keep all the creative teams. So they're saying, yeah, James Gunn is safe. The DCU is safe. And then they're going to pick up all of these big IPs. It's going to be great. Everybody just already handed it off to Paramount. Uh-oh. Oh, man. A new challenger has entered the arena. And it's Netflix. Not just any old challenger. It's Netflix. The biggest streaming dog on the block. And they have just picked up the same cats that put together the Paramount Skydance merger. And now they're like, yo, we serious about this. This is about to happen whether y'all like it or not, okay? Whether you like it or not, listen, man, Netflix exploring this and tapping into this investment bank, you guys got to take them seriously now. I know all of the rumors and everything was coming out. Now, I never listened to that stuff because I'm like, wait a minute. It makes sense for Netflix in a way to pick up Warner Brothers. It makes a lot of sense, even though I personally don't want that to happen. Let me get that out the way real quick. I don't want Netflix to pick up Warner Brothers, but I have a feeling Netflix is about to pick up Warner Brothers, all right? This article goes into it a little bit deeper. Variety, Netflix actively exploring Warner Brothers Discovery bid, hires bank to put together a mergers and acquisition offer. The same bank that just got through putting together the Paramount Skydance merger. And so if they put that together, they say, hey, give us some of y'all collective intellect, your knowledge of mergers and acquisitions. How did you pull that one off? Let us talk to y'all. Let us see if we can get this thing done. And I guarantee you, Warner Brothers, they're listening right now. They are listening. Look, and there's a lot of reasons why Netflix would want to pick up Warner Brothers. But the number one reason, in my opinion, is the IP. Netflix does not have IP to compete with Disney, to compete with Universal and some of these other bigger studios. They don't have IP over there. But Warner Brothers does. And if this is up for sale, you got to go after it. You got to go after it with everything you got. Because when are these properties going to come for sale again? All right? When you're talking about DC Comics with Superman, with Batman and Wonder Woman and all the characters in DC Comics. And then you got Harry Potter, right? Then you got Barbie. And then you got what else is over there? Looney Tunes. You got Game of Thrones. You got a ton of stuff that you can make IP on and franchises forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. You will never run out of ideas from all of the IP that they got. What does Netflix have in terms of IP? What does it got? It got Stranger Things, all right? It's got Stranger Things. It's got Wednesday. I guess Squid Game. It's got Squid Game. It's got a few things. I guess K-pop Demon Hunter now. That's pretty big. But imagine if that's all you got, and it's like, okay, you got an opportunity to grab DC Comics. What, you're not going to take it? You're not going to go after it? And because of how desperate Netflix is with the lack of IP, big IP that they got, compared to somebody like Disney that got Star Wars, Marvel, and the Disney princesses, and Pixar, and everything that they got over there, like, how do you compete with Disney if you don't have something like this? The odds of them overbidding for Warner Brothers is sky high. Paramount has some, stuff that they can play around with. They just want to add to it. So Paramount is another a group that has a lot of IP. Universal has a lot of IP. Disney, Netflix doesn't. And so when Warner Brothers comes for sale, man, you got to go after it. But yeah, let's read on this. Could Netflix become the future home of DC Universe's Superman and Batman superhero films, the Harry Potter and Barbie franchises, and owner of a trove of classics like Casablanca, Bonnie and Clyde, Goodfellas, Unforgiven, and The Shining? I mean, they got so much over there at Warner Brothers. They're literally one of the biggest IP gold mines on the planet. There's no way you don't pass this up. And Netflix got the bread to pay for it, to overpay for it, which is why I think they're going to come away with something. And I'll get to that in a minute, but I think they're going to come away with something. They might split the company up and let, Paramount, y'all can take all this other stuff. The streaming powerhouse is actively exploring some type of acquisition bid for Warner Brothers Discovery and has retained investment bank Moelis & Company to put together a prospective offer, according to a new report from Reuters, citing anonymous individuals. Moelis was the financial advisor of David Ellison's Skydance Media in its takeover of Paramount Global to former Paramount Skydance. Can you imagine that, man? You hired these guys, to kind of, hey, man, let us get Paramount. And they help you put that together. And now your competition goes and they hire your homies. Oh, man. It's like, why wasn't he working on this? You would think that Moelis would have been working for Paramount and Skydance to take over Warner Brothers. But I guess, yeah, they figured they had it. Oh, well, too late now. A Warner Brothers Discovery Board last week announced that it received inbound M&A interest from multiple parties and has commenced with the report to review such offers. Per the Reuters report, WBD has granted Netflix access to its financials as part of assembling a prospective M&A offer. It is not clear if a Netflix bid would also include Warner Brothers Discovery's HBO Max business. Oh, it most certainly will. All right. I'm going to tell you, if I'm Netflix, and again, I don't want this to happen, but I'm just being a neutral party in this sit. I would say give me HBO, give me HBO Max, and give me all the IP. I don't want anything else. I don't want any of the network shit. I don't want any of the news divisions. I don't want any of that Discovery stuff. I don't want none of that. Anything that was on cable, y'all can have that. Y'all can sell that to Paramount. And I'm sure Paramount would not mind say, okay, give us CNN, give us some of these other, Discovery channels and all of that. Yeah, y'all can have that, But I don't think Netflix is interested in any of that at all. The question is, does the board want to split it all up and sell it piecemeal? Representatives from Netflix, Warner Brothers Discovery, nobody commented, which is expected. Ted Sarandos told investors on its Q3 earnings interview last week that the company has no interest in owning legacy media networks. Yeah, that's networks, okay? They don't want the networks. But they do want the IP, all right? And they want HBO. That's what they want. Indicating that the acquisition of WB in its entirety, including networks like CNN, TBS, HGTV, and Food Network, is off the table. Yeah, Netflix doesn't want that shit. That's not their wheelhouse. That's not their model. I mean, I'm sure they could figure out a way to build it in, but that's not really what they're after. They're after major IP. Okay, Sarandos did say Netflix can be choosy about its M&A targets, but he added, nothing is a must-have for us to meet our goals that we have for the business. See, they say nothing is a must-have, but I disagree, man. I think you must have IP. You got to go and get some IP so you can compete with Disney, especially since everybody has already split off into their own streaming platforms. They're no longer sending over their IP to Netflix. See, Netflix at first, they was just going to be like, hey, we just distribution, we're just a streaming distribution service and that's it. We might have some original shit here and there, but we don't need major IP because you guys give us the major IP. I think Sony is still the only ones that are still sending Netflix their major IP, but Netflix don't own that. Sony can always pull the plug and go in a different direction. So they must have some new IP. And they've done all right. They got Stranger Things. That's fine. They got like Wednesday. All right. But Jenna Ortega's not getting any younger. You know, that Wednesday character is growing up every year. And it takes them 3 years to get to the next one. By the time we get to the next year of Wednesday, yeah, she's going to be at like Nevermore University or some shit. Like, you got to either start creating more episodes a lot faster so you can mine this IP a little bit longer, or you got to go buy some. You got to go buy some. You know, Squid Game is already done. You got to go buy IP. All right. So this to me is a must have. You know, I know he's, you know, poking his chest out big and bold, but eventually the studios would overtake Netflix if Netflix doesn't have some IP in its back pocket that it can constantly pull on and bring more boys to the yard. That's just the way I see it anyway. Netflix reported active interest in buying perhaps some of WBD's assets comes as Paramount Skydance Ellison's has made aggressive overtures with 3 escalating bids for the entire company. WBD has rejected all 3 as too low, including Ellison's most recent one for $23.50 a share. And then they got Comcast in the mix as well. It says, although Netflix seemingly just for the studios or the streaming side of the house, that's what Netflix wants. They don't need, CNN. They don't need News Channel. They don't need TNT. They don't need sports. They want sports, but they don't need sports. You know, and TNT's kind of out of the sports game right now as it is anyway, with the losing NBA. So it's like, yeah, we just want the IP, right? We just want Batman. We just want Harry Potter. All right. We just want Looney Tunes, Game of Thrones. If they get that, man, it's a wrap, man. Everybody's going to have Netflix. Everybody's going to have Netflix. If you don't have it, you going to have it. And it seems like everybody has it anyway, man. So in my opinion, I think this is the next move. I don't know what Paramount does to counter this, except just keep going up and up and up on the price. You know, eventually you're going to get to David Zaslav's $30 a share, but at the same time, it might behoove them to split it up and say, all right, look, Warner Brothers is going to get the IP because they're offering entirely too much money, and we would be stupid not to do it. It's a fiduciary responsibility for us to sell this IP over, and now we still have these legacy media franchises like CNN, like TNT, all of that stuff that you guys want. All right, you guys want those household brand names to be associated with your brand, Discovery and all that stuff. They want that stuff. Food Network, they would love to have that over there. That's why they're bidding for the whole studio. Paramount has the infrastructure to keep that stuff going. So I think ultimately that's what's going to happen, and it's kind of the best of both worlds for the Warner Brother Discovery Board and everybody that works over there. Now, what does that mean for James Gunn if Paramount if Paramount don't get DC? What does that mean for James Gunn? I think we back to square one. I think ultimately James Gunn, it's really on 2026 because his contract is up in 2026. He's making Superman Manor tomorrow in 2026. And so he's trying to have one last salvo to see if he can maybe possibly keep his job. I think if the 3 DC projects next year don't hit, I've already said this, it's a wrap. Anyway, regardless of whether Paramount or Netflix buys it. But I think if Netflix buys it, they're going to want to, let's talk to Zack Snyder a little bit. Let's see what his ideas are. Maybe he has Zack Snyder take over the Gunverse. Holy crap, man. That would be hilarious. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think, man. Look, I think this is a fascinating situation, man. It is absolutely the #1 story right now going anywhere, okay? Warner Brothers having a hell of a year at the box office, and now, look, it's time for Skydance maybe to, pick it up, or maybe Netflix. This is juicy shit, man. I love this stuff. Look, even though I don't want Netflix to buy Warner Brothers, it makes for an interesting conversation, and it puts the entire entertainment industry on its head. It absolutely stands everybody up on their head. They're going to have to start scrambling to figure shit out. Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think about it. Go ahead, jump down in the comments, give me your thoughts and opinions on that. And thanks for watching. See you next time.